right, well, welcome to this alignment infused pattern of poses today. So what I'm asking us to start with is a lot of movement from the footing, the power of the feet, and then how that kind of vibrates through the legs, and then eventually the pelvis. And studying the connection of the sacrum and the pelvis in motion is what we're going to start with. I think this is really interesting to emphasize the contour and the movement of these shapes, since it's kind of the powerhouse of the body, right? It's our center of gravity. It has quite a bit of influence into how we habituate our shape when we walk, and our just basic sense of being in our bones. So why don't we explore that a little bit? How about it? So we're going to start with our kind of cleared space at the wall. So the short end of the mat is up against a clear wall space. And then I ask that you have your belt, your blocks, your sandbag, and your chair and your bolsters off to the side, okay? So have a towel or blanket to the center of your mat behind you. So when you lower down, you want to start as close to the wall space as you can with your feet up onto it. And that solid connection of your footing is going to be, I'm going to put my head back on nothing, but you might like your towel or blanket under your head. Okay, I like to feel the whole continual kind of stroke of movement in my back when I do this pattern. So if it feels kind of hard under your head, just use something under it that's very low in height, okay? Now, place the block, or if you have one of those squishy balls, use that between the knees, and get a feel of your feet, how they slide down the wall, so that there's a connector from your knee to your ankle, and it feels like it's in a straight line. So how the heck will you know that? You can peek around your leg and notice if the feet are parallel, okay? You're going to use a small sliver of my blanket under my head. Not enough that I'll notice, but padding, okay? So at this point, as you push down into your back of your pelvis, you'll feel the arch and the rounding, the momentum of the track of the hips. So let's move our arms overhead, push into the wall, and then as you feel the hips lift up, it's almost a blend of flexion and extension. Flex, tension, okay. That sounds good, flex, tension, a new kind of tension. So as I press into the wall, that's my focal point, is pushing into the wall. So initiate the pattern from your feet. And then as you let your arms flow up and then forward and down to the floor, you will feel the movement through your spinal column. And I suppose really it's that pelvic base that lands. Okay, now let's be a little bit creative on this. We're going to alternate these patterns for about 5 more of these at your own pace. So feel how you land smooth in your back, and then feel the progressive motion of lifting the hips, stretching your arms back overhead, and then feeling as your arms reach, the hips lift up so there's a slant board for the thighs. And then lower the spine down. Okay, go at a pace that feels harmonious for your pelvis. Now get a little more connected to the pelvic kind of loop into the lift. And also for massaging through the spine. If your knees have any difficulties with this position, I would encourage you to move your body a little farther back from the wall. So lift and lower, massage through the spine. Try to keep that blocker ball between the knees, so you have a spacer for your back and your pelvis. And let the breath be a part of the experience of motion in breath as you feel the lift up, and out breath as you lower down. And try to let the back of the neck stay long when you lower down. This is the issue that may mean that you need a blanket or not. So if you feel when you lower down, it's real difficult for you to keep the spine and that neck space cozy. Get a little bit of height under your head. It just might be so some days. That area could be pretty tight. Okay, last time, let's center here, and then as you move your block, I want you to scoot a little closer to the wall, because likely you drift back away with the sliding times. And then place your feet back up. Rest them at the wall, so the heels just kind of press gently, and there's that space at the feet. And then feel where the hands can touch around the hip bones, and there's a natural arch in the spine. Okay, feel that arch. Breathe. And then as you slide both feet firm into the wall, we'll press the weight into the middle back, so it's like you're moving into a bridge tilt. Move the tail space as if the tail is moving to the wall. And then lift up your hips and reach for the block and slide the block. You want a block for this one under the back of the pelvis so it's at mid-height. Scoot it under there so it actually holds the sacrum. Okay, now keep in mind that sacrum is a flat triangular bone, and it kind of has a scoot from the base of the spine into the pelvis, right? Where the sacrum and the pelvis meet is the SI joints. So it's rather essential, I find, to feel pretty tidy and really on that block. Lift up both feet. Adjust your blanket as you need so that you really imagine that this is the most supportive inversion you can arrange. Arranging your inversion, okay? So shoulders are centered back. My head is very connected to the blanket right now. And then let's try this. We're going to take the other block. Hopefully it's easy to get. I want you to hold that block wide and lift it back overhead. So secure your hands into the sides of the block. Feel how you push in and how you lift up through the back of the legs. And is there a pushing with the feet? Likely no pushing, right? You just let them drift. So you got drifting feet and awareness through the arms. Relax your grip on your block and let your hands rest. So still feeling them overhead, but relaxing. Noticing all extremities are essential here, right? So if I hook into my hips a little deeper and my legs start to transfer their weight so they're over my rib cage, that's actually an incorrect balance. So I'm trying to move them to that integrated spot over my hip points, straight up vertical. And try moving your feet apart and apart and apart so you're almost into a wider stance with the legs. See if you can feel this one without staring at it and just feel the separation. Flex your feet, move your legs back in, and continue that pattern a couple more times. So separate the feet. Flex the feet this time as you move out. Let your arms relax. Trying to balance out the connectivity in the thigh bones. and the roots of the hips. So one last time, okay? So get a feel here where your feet are up and they're still lifting up through the inner legs and moving out. And now if you're continuing to move out, you're going to let the back of the pelvis press, get a grip on the block, and then hold the block firm as you move your feet back together. Relax the feet so they're not in that flexed, engaged position. And simply feel that the direction of the knees is softening. Okay, now we'll leave the block where it's at overhead. We'll move our arms down near the hips base. And then as you lower your feet so they go, well, actually just go straight into the wall space. You could kind of play with what would it be like to lower them down with my block under my sacrum. So you're in a very supportive bridge without your feet at the wall. That could be good for you right now for your hip flexors. So you might try lowering down the feet for a few moments and just feel that perspective in the front of the thighs. But we'll push down into our feet and then we'll lift up the hips, whether your feet are at the wall or the floor, slide the block away. And then as you guide your spine down, really find that final tipping point of the back of the pelvi. Feel it center into your glute medius, right? It's kind of right anchored where it's lower than the spine. And then we'll step the left foot up to the wall and we'll move. Maybe you have to move your hips a little closer. I want you to be close enough but you'll find out when we take the twist if it's too close. So be aware of everything on the sides. Okay, left foot to wall, lift the right leg, cross the right foot to the left knee, and we're in a reclining pigeon pose. And so you can tell the closer you are to the wall, the more intense. I really like to use my block here. Place it with both hands holding so the block is kind of at its mid-height. And then I press it just above the inside of my right knee, press towards the wall, of course. Feel where there is some arch in the back and let that happen. Let that part of the body feel its tenderness and its circulation. It's nice to kind of respond to that without trying to squish it back down. So spines move, arch, round, reach. Feel all their waves. This is important to feel a tiny bit of arch in your back prior to the twist. Most of us know back bends are followed by twists oftentimes, or reclining knees to chest. So we're adding this in. Push into that block. Move the block now down. I'm going to encourage you to put it over next to the left side of your mat. So as you cross the right leg over the left, you're going to release your knees over to that block. And I know the height of it is different than a bolster. So if you miss your bolster under your knees, grab it, place it there. You're welcome to change it up. And when you're here, you can add sand option on that external right thigh, but this is a pretty tidy twist. The legs are very controlled and interwoven, right? So you have this reach of the knees to the left side of the space, open out the right arm, and turn your head to the right, and let your head actually get some capacity to roll. Feel where the back of the neck is centering and where the sides of the neck gently lengthen. Lead with the right arm relaxed and give it a few more moments. Now, if you don't want the block under your knee, you can slide it out. It will make the sensation deeper, a little more intensive. But sometimes something right under super intense is a nice place to explore the balance of flexibility and tone. Right? So we're trying to find that wave between the two so you feel stable. So you don't feel like you're falling apart. But you're not overstretching. Now, as you slide the sand, if it's on the leg, out, right now we're going to move our knees back into center and hold on to the shins. Use the arms to actually grab onto the leg bones so that you're right below the knees, right? You're at the shin bone, and you try to lift your feet up so that if you were to stare at the legs, it really is this cross angle, it's as horizontal as you could create. Rather than trying to pull your legs closer to your shoulders, observe this unique set of circumstances across the knee threshold here. We're kind of juicing that joint. And then uncross, right foot steps at the wall, left foot to the right knee, left knee open. Add the block below that inner left knee and press, okay? Feel where the spine is lengthening, but there's still this little itty bitty arch, okay? So maintain that connectivity through the back muscles. Give it a few moments. We are starting out with some selections of alignment essentials for about another 5 minutes till we start to come up. So I would soak them up if you can. Just kind of soak up these ingredients to your practice. Now from pushing into that left leg, get a feel again for that arch in the left side of your back, maybe more dominant than the right. Block to the right side or bolster, you choose. Cross the left leg over and let the knees guide to the right. Open the chest and then place that sandbag to the outer left thigh. Right? Feel that it's more thigh focus, not just the hip points. So it feels like the whole body is kind of lying, it's getting kind of combed through. The connective combing, connective tissue comb out. So feel when that body is in that rotation, and when that left arm is open, your head rolls left. This might be a sign where you notice, oh, my chest muscles are different, will it be exploring the pec muscles a bit? And so this is kind of a starting, this is an exploration of them. And if your arm can move a little bit back, maybe it stays selectively open. Give time to the breath, especially as it escapes the body. Safe escape. Kind of survey the structure mentally. Kind of visualize where it's opening, where it's loosening up in the hip threads. So, even when you're scanning and you're visualizing areas or connections between areas, that's stimulating a part of the brain as well, right? To focus on that area to receive wellness. So we're trying to emphasize that
as often as we can. So when we come into some standing poses, if they get a little challenging, you can back off, you can visualize them, and you're still, right, lighting up that part of the brain that would be doing the actual shape or focusing on that area, stimulating that. So when you come out of this one, you're simply going to move your sand first, then legs second, and you have that crossing. It might feel a little different on that second side. So encourage your legs to move to your abdominal organs. So feel the belly organs getting lightly squished inwards. Yeah, noticing that during the shape, it's squishing the abdominal organs, right? It's giving them a little juicing. So they don't get to have that fresh supply of fluid until you actually got pose. So it's squishing, squishing. It's a nice science experiment here for your organs. Okay, now as you start to uncross, we're going to push back. So I'm going to slide back, one final back shape. Right, key into the alignment here. This is where, if you got a block down to your head, you're going to move that out. And you're going to bring your belt around your ribs. So what we're going to do is have a rib belt. So I'm placing the belt around my ribs, and my belt, as I mentioned earlier, is buckled up, so it's a wide loop. If not now, buckle it up. And then it goes around my rib cage. My left foot, I have a slight bend in my left knee so that I can actually push back fully when I'm ready. So I'm going to lift up my right foot into the belt, lift the belt into the foot, connect the two, and then tighten it up. Really make this tight so that your hamstring is in all its glory at this point. Hamstring, calves. If you're a fairly bendy person, you'll likely feel this pretty deeply in your calf, okay? If it's not a hamstring, it's a calf. So I'm going to tighten this up and take it serious so that it's as tight as it can get. If I'm to hold onto my rib cage, I feel the belt so it's not quite behind the heart. I would catch it lower. So when we cross the leg out, especially female, it's not going to bother your chest, right? It just feels awkward there. So you want to feel it kind of at the hook of the ribs, right? You can kind of feel the rib structure where it's those two sides are rather pronounced. It's a little bit around that zone, okay? Put a sandbag on the top of the left thigh and lengthen that thigh flesh so that the hip flex. So you might really push the sand around. You could put the sand across it, horizontal or straight down the leg. But as I'm here, we're going to reach our hands together, interlace the fingers, push the palms to the sky, and then start to move the right leg open. Okay? So slowly, the leg is rather hiked up for most of us. It's probably quite intense. So go slow, maybe about halfway to your maximum or a little bit more than halfway, but do not maximize your range right now. So your sand can stay on, the legs can stay activated down through the left foot at the wall. You want it at the base of the wall. Straight left leg, reach your arms back overhead. It's a nice balancing pose. If you were standing with your leg out, it would be quite the workout for your ankles. So use this to strengthen around both ankles. Feel the left foot push. Feel the awareness through that right ankle. Breathe, rib cage moving. Now when you come back in center with the foot, Play with it for a moment. Lose your sand, let the leg cross over to the left side. Bring your arms open and just play with that direction across the right outer hip. Notice. Left foot is straight up. Toes are up at the wall. Toes are up. Important. Okay, now as you come back up with that right foot, I want you to change the foot in the belt. So push off the the left foot, bring that foot up, change sides. Yeah, likely your footing on the second foot might feel closer, less supported by the wall, more supported. Find your base, really get there, feel your foot at the wall, and then slip on some sand. Slip on sand. Don't slip on the sand, but slip it on top of the leg. So I place the sandbag on the top of the right thigh, and then I encourage just that simple sense of direction to flex my left foot. Okay? Feel where the arms could be different on this side. We're same pose shape. The arms get a little different direction. I'm trying to move my shoulder blades down my back. Feel my ribs lift. And then spread the arms open. Move your left leg straight out to the side body. Reach open with the thigh. And a tiny, tiny micro bend with your knee. Be willing to balance the foot at the wall so it is really pushing deeply to find support rooted all the way through the right side of the leg up into the spine. Patience with yourself. I know this beginning pattern is rather slowish, but it's very useful for our alignment to refine it and to define it, right? Not just refining our work, but defining first. Okay, give it a few more moments. Now, if you're interested in crossing it to the right, take the time to get that left leg to start to move through center line and then across to the right side, and spend the time motioning without the worry about keeping your sand on. Let's go on, bye-bye. It slid. Sand doesn't stay forever. Even at the beach, it moves. So feel that kind of that tidal change of movement across the left outer leg all the way into the hip joint. Now we'll move it around a bit. So these leg parts are going to now be kind of like one body of two legs. So when you move back your left leg through the center line straight up, let's take our hands up to the belt and pull with both hands very firm. Really feel when you pull on the belt. And then move the right foot up into the belt, change the leg in the belt, left foot down, pull so the belt is around the arch of the foot. Now if you feel your toes turn in a lot, I want you to look at your foot so it's straight open, right? It's not turning and pivoting at the ankle flesh. It feels like it's pretty much active, right? All through the bone structure of the foot. Okay. So now that we got our foot bone structurized, we're gonna take our belt back overhead. This sometimes feels good if it works out for you. You can get that belt hooked under your ribs, bring both feet to the wall, and you're actually kind of hooked under the rib cage, and you're stretching your arms straight overhead. Sometimes that works out magically. Okay. Now, as I soften my elbows, I'm going to bring my knees in, and I want you to roll up or roll to the side, and we're going to come around to all fours. So let's place our blanket now back to our knees. You might kind of reorganize the folding, okay? And make sure that it's stacked and it's fairly even in its cord fold And when it slips under the knees, reach open with your hands. Have your blocks nearby if you like. Keep them in easy reach. Okay. And as the hands are pressing down, fingers wide, I want you to first just find that tail spacing as you kind of visualize the tail spacing open, not quite back to the wall, but wide. And widen that space when you round your back into flexion. Can you keep the hands wide? Hollow the belly, head releasing, chin to chest, round the back. Look at your feet. Now, the heels are up at the wall, yes? The feet are curling a little bit, so you're stretching your foot, okay? Now, try lifting up your knees here. I'm sure you can get there. Now, if your feet are up at the wall, that's kind of challenging. Weight into your hands. So I want you to alternate that for a moment. You're going to arch your back so you come down to all fours. Look forward. Lift up the face. Inhale. And then exhale, push back. Let your head center between the arms. Inhale, arch. Knees down. Exhale, push back. Okay, now inhale, find your arch. Hands out wider on the mat. In fact, we're going to reach our hips back and walk our hands to the top right corner of your mat into this nice side stretch for the left shoulder and left side of your back. Lower your head to the floor. Really get that left side body to lengthen. Maybe it's mostly your lats, but you'll feel the connector through the side. And then walk over to the right. Now feel how your hips can move opposite to the hands going to the left side, okay? Your hips are gonna move back to the right side. So you're in a kind of a side child's pose. Yeah, let the wave of reach move real dynamic from your right arm, the back piece of the arm, through the pit, through the ribs, through this kind of this muscle pattern that is capable of a deep stretch, right? So work with that reach. And then come back forward, upward facing dog. Hands get to go wide and feel that the width of your hands when you lower your hips down towards the floor, that you push into your feet, you lengthen through the front. See if you can really tone here into the legs. So get that feel of firming up the legs when you're pushing into the wall. So push back into your feet, firm up the legs, and then as you lift up in the forward bones, lower down, okay? Don't give up on your hands because they're the only hope to get you back up. So I push back into my feet, elbows by my sides, and then when I push back into my hands to help me come up, I want you to feel that firming up of the arms. So we have both legs and arms working here, okay? Now, with a lot of care and love for your back, you're going to come back into that cat spine, howling cat. Feel the natural arch of the back here. And then round your back one more time, pressing into your hands. Okay, now, hands come in about shoulder width. As you lift up into downward facing dog, it doesn't work to have your foot all the way up at the wall. So you're gonna lower down your heels. So maybe they touch the base of the wall. Maybe they're a little lifted up, a tiny bit of a heel, that's fine. But get a feel for now the weight distribution in your arms, not just your hands, but your actual arm load. And then take the left foot into the right foot and lift up the right foot at the wall. Lift up that leg, taking that splits. You're going to keep that right foot up at the wall. And then in breath, I'm assuming you're continuing a rather paced breath that works for you, guiding your focus. And your source of support, lower the right foot down, switch sides. Right heel downwards, left foot up at the wall. Feeling, we're going to be stretching through into a lunge very soon. So I want you to stay connected and then step the left foot forward. Get your blocks under hands. Relieve your wrists here for a moment. So stretch back through the right leg, lower down the knee to the blanket, and then guide yourself into this low lunge. Okay? The hands can be on the blocks. You might position them a little bit higher. So it really is easier on the wrists, but also on the neck muscles. Right? So I'm not continuously flexing deeper into the neck source. So as the right thigh stretches forward, get a good reach through the hip bones. Okay? Lift up the back knee. Now I want you to try to track this. So my left knee is forward above my ankle. I know it goes forward. Now, if you can take a crescent lunge pose, so I'm going to dip my right heel down so it's still up at the wall. I have my blocks. If you find that when you come up that you lift and your balance is a little wonky, use the wall awareness, push back, firm up the legs, and stretch your arms up. Try to keep in mind you're pushing back through the right foot, firming through the legs, down through the lunge. Okay? Now, open out the arms. Place your left hand on the left thigh and pivot the right outer foot against the wall. I know it could be a little crazy balance there. You got a wall for your right hand though, don't you? Okay. So that left knee is in an open layer. You have the knee motioning towards the foot. So sometimes we practice and we're listening for the cues versus looking at the screen. So as clear as I could be, we have the left knee moving towards the toes. Okay, I want you to keep this warrior two up. So we're not going to slant into the left thigh. We're going to keep that left knee stretching towards the toes. Bring your hands together at the heart area, interlace the fingers, push them forwards. Okay, now pivot the left foot in, toes in left foot. Hands down to the hips, forward bend. We're going to lower down. We're going to bring the hands either to the ankles so that you can start to measure up the feet so they're in the same track. Okay? Hold on to the ankle bones. Wherever you can get. Bend your elbows, open outwards, head to the floor. Okay? Let this be a pose about head below the heart. Inverting. Head nods a little side to side. Now, when you're upside down for a few more moments, please try to focus on the ribs expansion and contraction when you're upside down. So feeling you're experiencing that motionary pattern in the rib cage, and you're wanting to feel that relationship of coordinating the lungs, inverting the body, right? So I'm upside down. It's a different perception intellectually, right, when you're breathing. So just let it happen without trying to force it. Experience and experiment with the breath. Now feel the knees bending.
Take a block if you like. If you like a block under your hands, wide, forward, push it out. And then I want you to let your weight actually lean towards that block. If you want 2 blocks, 1 for each hand, take 2. But feel that width in the feet so you're in like a wide downward dog. Okay. Now, instead of pushing my hips back, I want you to progressively move forward so you feel the weight through the whole foot, the base of each foot. Both feet are important on this one. So bend your knees and then start to reach your hips back. Now, as you slide your block in, I want you to hold on to the right leg with the left hand, the right lower leg, and try to keep that block under your right hand. Now, if you can push out the block in front of you and get that full twist, take that. So take that. Right hand is on the block. I pushed it out. My left hand crosses through to the right leg, and I'm in that twist. Breathe. Lift, switch sides. Make it interesting. I push forward. I switch back, right hand to left leg. Really stressing the awareness in the shoulder capsule, which I kind of think of as the rotator cuff, where there's a capsule of kind of frenetic energy, right? The energy there flows differently than a hip, but they have some similar focus points when they get tight. So get a feeling when you cross through with that right hand to the left leg that the head centers down. Breathe. Slide the block in, come back with the right hand now to the block, and then turn your left foot open towards the front of the space. You're moving out into the center of your mat, and pivot that back heel. Step the right foot to the left. Balance your feet about hips distance so they're under the hip bones. And then as you come up, you're going to bend your knees and reach your hips down, arms besides the ears. Stretch straight up, straighten the legs, lift the arms, stretch up through the chest. Inhale. And exhale, forward fold we go. Okay, left foot steps back. Take a lunge low, left knee down to the blanket, right knee above the ankle. Lean into the weight. Right, let things kind of get kicking into a little more pace here with the interactive or the integration of strengthening and lengthening the tissues. So feel where there's a blend of resistance here with the thigh. Left foot pushes into the wall. We stay with that emphasis. Start to lift up the back left knee, and then I want you to keep the knee up, and the right foot has to get under the knee, doesn't it, to balance you. Okay, now if your left heel is really high at the wall and you try to stand up, it would be a little bit tricky, wouldn't it? It's pretty high heel. That's just not helpful. So I'm going to take a stance. So my stance is a little bit wide, right? If I look back at my left foot, it's straight back from my hip joint, like if I was taking a fast walk or kind of leaping, right? It's more leaping. That's the stride my hips would take. So you want to motion your right knee forwards in crescent lunge. Firm up the legs, co-contract and bring your arms both up, and feel where there is a negotiation here with the left knee bending, the arms reaching and balancing. Tailbone isn't either in or back, it's really neutral, isn't it, here? I don't know, is it? Kind of neutral. Now, when I bend through that right knee and then I bring my hands to my hips, I'm going to pivot the back foot against the wall. Take your chances to move your foot and your leg together. Be aware that there is a wall to get a hand on, and then both arms switch away from the center.
Take a pretty wide lunge. Be safe as could be though with your footing. So if you're getting a little slippery on your mat space, you might want to have your foot closer and under your knee than farther out so you don't go into the splits. That's not our goal today, is the splits. That's not the peak pose. So feel the lunge to that right thigh. Breathe open through the chest. Balance. Okay, now when you start to lower, this time we're going to actually go forward into our right foot. So I want you to lean down with the right hand on the block or the floor, and then pivot the left hand down. Now as you turn, we're going to rotate so that as that back foot lifts up, we're going to lower down the knee, and we're going to add our bolster in. So slide your right foot back, okay? And then we'll take our bolster straight forward so it's underneath the belly. So we're going to flow into the bolster, belly down, hands on Sphinx position, so I'm sliding quite a bit forward. But my feet push into the wall. Press down into your elbows, lengthen forward, feel the natural arch through the spine. And I would let this be sort of a blend of restorative anchoring into your spine and your shoulders, and a very mild amount of toning. So feel where your feet push. Okay, now as you slide your hands back, I want you to press open through your fingers wide. Feel your elbows kind of out to the side. They kind of swing out. It's like the elbows are in that swinging pattern of motion. And then when we squeeze them in, we're going to lift up at the chest. Try to keep your elbows slightly open here so they're not tucked in as firm as they can to your sides. Keep them in a bendy position. This is important for side stage coming up, so I want you to keep them bendy. And then as you push your hips back, okay, you're going to bring the left knee across the blanket towards the right side of your bolster, and then roll down to your left hip on the blanket. Okay, so you pivot now, and then stretch your left arm on the bolster, right thigh back. Okay? Rather than standing up here, I want you to try to keep it so it's a little of an active side sage pose. My right foot might be pretty close to the wall, so if you're uncomfortable with that, you can scoot farther away from the wall, but extend through your right arm. Okay? Get a feel for this reach. Circle that right arm, open, swing it down, reach through it, try to circle through the arm that's up. Right, get its full range of motion. Don't skimp on it. Try to scoop through as long as you got some room around you. There's no crazy pets right next to you. Thinks you're playing with them through your arm. So one more time. We reach, really get that reach through the arm, the sleeve, and then when you come around, you're going to actually turn, and you're going to roll onto your back. Thank goodness. And curiously enough, the blanket under your hips and your head on your bolster might be a pretty deep stretch here. So I feel my feet stretch at the wall. My toes are stretching. My soles of my feet are together. The knees are pointed out. It's lovely. So the arms open. Channel the reaction in the shoulders to press back and down. Open the heart. Breathe slow. Really try to stretch your inner thighs here. Feel the legs. Push into the feet. Okay, now switch sides. Left knee points up. You're going to roll to your right side. So play with balancing on your hips. You're going to swing the weight over to the right. And then when you use your hip on that blanket, stretch through the right arm. Lower your head. and lift up to the left arm and open, okay? Relax your ideas of how expansive you should be with your arm. Feel the places that you put weight into and then try to spiral out from there. Try to move through your shoulders. Both of them are working here. Breathe. Right, try to bring some focus time to the threading of the arm and the side waist. If you want to stay still with the pose, go for it. If you want to keep the arm reaching and stay in still point. Now, as the arm moves down, we turn to the bolster. We take one final up dog with this bolster. We're going to lean forward, lengthen through the torso. Okay, come back and move back to your forward bend. Toes under, lift up the knees, stretch back to down dog. Walk your hands back towards your feet. And then walk the heels away from the wall so you could lift up your bolster and then stretch down into a forward bend. Avoid jamming the knees back. So feel a bend of the knees and a direction of the spine and the weight of the head lowering down. Okay, despite my arm's reach. Even if you are able to put your hands on the floor and your waist to your thighs, I want you to have a reach here. Take a few more breaths here. Okay, now as we come on up, we're going to move our blanket aside for the moment. I want you to scoot your feet forwards, move the bolster aside, and then we're going to reach our hips back to the wall, stretch our arms forwards. So you're basically doing a wall sit right now. Now, of course, you could slide down further, but I want you to find where your knees are forward. I hope they are. Your arms are reaching in front, and then as you push off of the wall, you're going to launch yourself up to standing, okay? Take your chair now. I want you to get a hold of that, and you're going to put it at the center of your mat. But here's the change here. We're going to change into using the chair. So with the chair change, I want you to have the chair far enough away from the wall that when you step your foot on it, right foot first, you could hold onto the wall with your right hand, but it's a stretch for your chest. So be sure it's far enough away, not too far, so when I step up and I let my weight center on my left foot, right, I'm going to move my right arm back and turn so the thumb on that right hand faces up, thumbs up. Left hand on the outer right knee. Feel the exact amount of twist, so you press down into your left foot. You rotate through the waist. Feel if you can remind that ability to get the chest to open all the way up to the collarbones. Way up there. Breathe. Balance. Okay, now we're going to move the right arm forward. Now what I want us to do is first take the right arm across the chest, hook the left arm under, palm open to ceiling, and then intertwine the arms. Okay, so door one is I have my right knee centered and up. I want to keep that lift of my arms upwards. Straight up, balancing your weight into your left foot all the way up through the hip. Try to let the heel on that left leg press down and enable the texture in the front of the left thigh to lengthen. So it's not a tail tuck, it's a neutral spine. Now as you spread out the arms, bring your hands back,
Change sides, right foot down, left foot up. Try to keep it very specific. So my left foot is on the chair, both feet are parallel, especially this bottom foot, right? It's likely going to kick out. The heel's going to draw in when you balance. So it's almost as if putting weight down into my ball of my right foot and then kind of swing the heel, kick it out a little to the right will be good. It's challenging as all heck up into the hip, but work with that strength into your hip joint, to the bone density here. And then bring the right hand to the left knee, left hand. Now if you need to swing under with the hand to grab the wall, go for it. Feel what is a better motion in your shoulder. If it clicks, if it gets stuck, find how you can move it so you get an easy glide through the joint, an easy rotation, okay? So my right heel presses down all the way up to the hip flesh, right? We're building up for some chair standing shape. So you really want to build up for these balancing poses. Turn the waist, lift the heart. Now, the left arm comes forwards, crosses over the right. Now, if your right hand is down, try to flip the palm open. Hook the arms up high, intertwine the arms and up. Feel the elbows lift, feel the weight down. Now, try to lift up a little higher. I know sometimes we get kind of sunk into our feet. We sink into the feet. So try to lift up, lift up. Now arms go out, and then we lower our foot, we step our feet back. We're gonna bring our hands to the chair seat. I want you to step back and feel this measurement of your seat, your chair seat, and your seat, your tush, okay? So what we'll take is our left foot down to the base of the wall and the right foot under the chair seat. Now, your foot has probably completely disappeared from under you, but we know it's there. So that's a good balance. I have my hands securely under my shoulders. So I want this chair close enough to me that when I push down to my hands, I could lose one of them up onto the back bar of the chair and I would still feel pretty solid, okay? So challenge yourself to find that balance for a few moments. And I want you to maintain this strength into the legs and start to firm up the legs all the way up through the right quadricep. And feel that lift up through the thigh. Breathe. Turn to your right, reach open. Lift up, press down to the left heel, and keep lifting. Now, stay with this for a good 30 more seconds here. So I want you to try to feel down the inside of that right foot so you're pressing down through the foot. Try to blend resistance and lengthening. So press down through that right foot, keep that rotation. Where's the rotation? Is it in the legs? It's in the hip joint. I want you to feel all the way up. Now as the arm moves back, bring it behind your back if you haven't already. Sometimes you go right for the back. Now balance the weight in the legs. So if you want to come up a little bit with your left hand so you're not pushing into the heel of the hand, that's fine, right? Reaching the back bar is not likely realistic for everybody, right? But you could try to lift up your hand to the back bar of the chair, okay? If you get it there and you feel a little bit worried about getting back out safely, try to stay with the twist, really anchor down into your left heel, right? You can always bend your right knee to get out smoothly, so just know that your levers, that leverage is huge for balance. This is just good to do less poses coming up ahead to the end of the class and really refine them. So feel this revolved triangle shape. Feel the turn in the waist.
okay? Now if your hand is at the back bar, I want you to lower it down, okay? Feel if you push into your hand, can you cup the hand, spider the fingers, so that you can keep that turn in the waist, okay? So you're still lifting in the midsection. Now this is gonna be really quite an intense shape. So looking forward here, we're gonna bring our right hand down, and I want you to look back at your left foot. Okay, be nice to it. If it turned itself out a little bit, remind it to come back to parallel for a moment before we change sides. Okay? So, bring the right foot back, push down into your chair, both palms pressing, lift up the chest, up dog. And then push back and change sides. Left foot forward. Remember, we're just doing revolved triangle, no triangle. So feel the right foot down behind you, toes forward. Maybe you have to push the heel out a little bit. And then as we twist to our left, we have the right hand down, we turn to the left, we lift up that arm. Not required to have the arm straight up, and a nice idea to keep that rotation going through the waist. Feel the right heel pressing downwards. Now the left arm can go behind the back. Feel the difference in the transfer of energy through the shoulders, through your waist. Stay connected, breathing. Okay, now if you feel like the calf on the right leg is starting to get a nice stretch, I do want you to try reaching your right hand to the bar of the chair and stay with that turn to the left. It's a balance for the core muscles too. So try to keep that reach with the waist twisting. Feel the twist to the torso. Breathe. Now bend the left knee a little bit, lower the right hand down, and then as you start to turn the ribs one more time to the left, breathe. It only helps. Turn back down to center. Take a moment here where I want you to actually start to press down into that right heel and lift it up with the wall so the bottom of the foot, the ball of the foot presses down. You're really stretching through the whole foot itself on the right leg, right foot. You're going to bend the left knee and kind of nudge the chair away. See if you can get into half moon really sneaky here. I'm going to just nudge the chair, push it, and then I'm going to lift up my right foot at the wall. Okay. Now, I don't want it to go too high, but I do want to feel like I'm supported underneath my hands. So I'm going to move my left hand forward on the chair seat all the way under the bar of it, and then turn to my right and stretch the right arm up. Manifest that ability to stabilize through your left leg, turn through the waist, open up through the arm. Really feel where that reaches through that right limb, that extension up into the hand, turn through the rib cage, open the chest. Okay, as you're balancing your weight through your right foot, even though your left foot feels really dominant on this pose, it's clear it's the shaky bones on the left leg. Use the power here, that base, so the right hand comes down to the chair, seat, and then when I feel both hands, yeah, do a little space scratch while you do that. Okay, feel balancing. You're going to turn your right foot to face down, and I want you to try to pivot and feel kind of that suction in the back of the left thigh. Okay, now when you step the right foot down, switch sides. Left foot up to the wall. Remember, you don't want to be too far away from the wall, so if you need to come back, take that positioning, reestablish. Feel the foot of the wall and then gradually twist. So you're trying to turn from the the head of the femur, right? You're going, oh wow, I actually have my right leg planted, and then this top area has choice, right? Either turns out or it turns in, right? So right now you're pressing down to your right foot, and you're trying to keep this right thigh firm all the way up to the top of the thigh, right to the attachment of the hip joint, and then you're actually turning, scrubbing up the hip joint, trying to loosen it up a little bit, open it up, right hand onto the chair, and then turn left and stretch up that left arm, turn through the waist. Rotate like you really mean it, right? You really want to get a feeling of help is on its way here for your hip, especially when it's shaky, okay? Feel the left arm lift, try to establish not a lot of moving with the left arm, not any tucking and turning like we've done before. Stay with that stability, opening. Okay, now when you turn back on down, you might put your hand on the bar, you might go right to the seat, but you're going to pivot the left foot to the wall space, so the top of the foot turns. Now when we switch off, we're going to lower that left foot. I want you to take the chair a little closer to the wall. We're going to turn around and face the wall and then lift up our left foot. So the top of the foot is on that chair and kind of nestle back into the foot so that your thigh peak, all that energy you had kind of drilling around the hip joint can sweep away. You can kind of comb through that connective layer at the thigh lid. Yeah, feel if you're firming up the legs or if you can just let the legs be kind of these pulls out of your hips, right? That's a way to think of your legs. They're pulls down from your hip joints that position your ability to stand upright, right? So stretching your hands open at the wall. Cycle the breath. This final phase is quite intricate and a few moments where you're capable of letting go, but you look pretty active as far as the shape goes. Now, if the hands are kind of heart level, I want you to lower them down so you actually can make your handprint. And then slide that left knee forwards, placing the foot down to switch sides. As the right leg stretches back, feel the top of the foot, feel the knee corners moving in. Now, if the right leg slides back, try to keep lifting up at the waist. Yeah, make the hands be in a place that you feel solid. If there's a lower back pressure, please take some time to manage that release down through the right leg. Equalize the balance in the low back. Breathe. Stable through the thigh. Give it a little more soaking time for the hip threads. Soaking the hip threads. And as you lower down that right foot, there's been a lot of change in this pattern today. So when we come down to sit at our chair seat, we're going to come back to a pattern we did in the beginning. We're going to cross the right foot now to the left knee. Okay, but now the left foot is at the floor. So I want you to lean forward onto the wall with both hands. Try to lower your chest. Feel the hands push into the wall. Make a little bit of a cat spine. Round your back. Lift up the head. Push back. Hands onto the sides of the chair. I want you to get a hold of the chair with the hands to move the shoulders back, chest open. And then uncross right foot. Now kind of visualize there's a spacer between the knees like a block, that type of size. And then keep the arms moving back, elbows back, chest open. Change the left foot now to the right knee. And then as you lean forward, can you maintain that length in the back muscles as you tilt forward and feel into your left hip. Push and round your back. Push and round your back. And now feel when your left knee motions open. And now as we come up, we're going to get a block, place it between the knees, and scoot to the very edge of your chair seat. And turn to your left. You're going to bring your right hand outside the left knee, left hand as far back on the chair as is reasonable for you. Maybe it's around the back bar and you can open up the upper threads of the chest. Maybe it's down on the chair seat, and so that you're really getting the arm of the chair with your left hand. So that's good for your shoulder plate, but if it feels too much in your elbow, these are interesting parts of the body. If they get too much pressure, they certainly rebel. So take some time to get a feeling of that, okay? So get the twist. And then when you come back through center, immediately to the other side. So I'm kind of trusting my balance. Now, if my knees are swerving my block out, I've got to stay stable so the knees are right across from each other, okay? This is for your hips to be level. And then as your left hand is on the outside of that right knee, twist the body to the right. Feel the shoulder. Open the chest. Now feel that there's a forward momentum here. So when we come out, we're going to take a feet wide pattern before we get upside down. Now this will be a nice bridge for those that do legs up the wall or chair shoulder stand. So when you lower down, make sure your head doesn't hit the wall. Reach for the bottom of the feet of the chair and let your head lower. Stretch out your back. Let your spine gently lengthen. So my weight of my feet wide enough, but underneath helps my body try to stretch out my spine. Now keep this emphasis in your back. When you slide your feet in towards your chair, you're going to grab your bolster, place it up against the wall, right across horizontal, all the way to the wall. And then I'll use my chair to help me get onto this legs up. So what you'll do is you'll use your chair seat and you'll transfer down to your bolster. That's kind of handy. Simple stuff, you know? Makes it very senior class. Okay, then we've got we are advanced in ways. We're going to take our blanket and we're going to place that kind of not quite mid-mat, maybe just a little distance away from your bolster. Now you're going to have your sandbag nearby. You're going to scoot your tush to the very wall so that the sitting bones are at the wall and you're on one edge of the bolster. You have to sit on the edge. arm drops down to the ground, and then you're gonna swing the legs up. You're gonna have to roll to come upside down. Now, if you're going to do chair shoulder stand, you're already established with your chair, you just put your bolster at the feet. You might want to put yourself a little bit away from the wall. That's reasonable. But when you are at legs up the wall, feel your seat as close to the wall as you can maintain, and then sand your feet. Feel where the balance is in the back of the pelvis. Feel where the reach is through the calves, and maintain some space at the knees. So depending on your inversion of choice, whether it's the chair, shoulder stand, or legs up the wall, you want to have a little bit of measured space between the knees. So that diaphragm respiratory muscle has a chance to work on inner balance, coordination when you have the legs so they're not a uni leg entirely. So there becomes a constant challenge with toning the abdominal organs since you turn them upside down against gravity's downward pull. Feel what can relax in the shape and use the props as support. Rely on your arms to open your chest. And then receiving the pose. Let the eyes rest back in pose. Truthfully receiving the awareness of head down, opening heart, belly, releasing the hips. Now, can your breath be longer on the exhalation? Can you introduce the wave of inhale to fill up the body? And then as you exhale, feeling especially that top layer when you inhale, kind of lower down and let go. So if you tend to feel kind of that residue at the top when you take the deepest in-breath, still kind of hold in. Your emphasis is to let go, empty the lungs, and release. Return the body to a state of balance, curiosity, and feeling ultimately supported. Now with the feet flexing, we're going to start to soften the knees. And I want you to still let the legs be up. So we're going to, if we're at wall work, we're going to move our sand off of our feet. And then we'll move our legs back up. But this time, lower down the feet and let the knees open out to Supta Baddha Konasana. If you're at the chair, you're going to bring your feet to the back bar of the chair and let the knees motion open. So feel the arch in the spine. Feel that natural blend of arching. It can only respond in the core muscles to lengthening. So think of this pose as opening up the core, but it's also creating that kind of tone through the core. And there's a little bit of that in the core body with the length. So the energy flow through the organs. And then we very simply guide the knees in towards the chest, starting to come out of your pose placement. Feel the knees tucked in, hold on around them. And then with the spine very steady and long. Roll to your side and help yourself to a simple cross-legged position. Kind of our first cross-legged position. So get yourself to some height. Feel that crossing of the legs to where it's comfortable for you. And let the shoulders move back so the heart spatially widens. Feel the arms open out and lift up high. Reach the palms together and then interlace your fingers and turn the palms up. Just turn the hands inside out. Relax your eyes. Try to maintain the successful lift of the ribs. And we're kind of collecting our awareness in each of our homes. And then as you bring your hands to slide together, bowing the hands, the head down to your heart center, surrendering there. Inhale together. And with exhalations, bowing into your heart. Gratitude, namaste. Thank you.
Thank you for being at class.